Yo, yo, everybody. What is up? It is your friendly neighborhood physical therapist, Dr. Ryan Welton, coming to you from my house, actually, the Welton residence. I am talking about today, I'm talking about how to get patients to stop blaming you for things that they did on their own outside of what you're doing with them. You know what I'm saying? So I put out a post in my VIP group. Join it, my school group. It's free. I put out a post last week and I said, get ready. It's back spasm season. People call this the holiday season. I don't call this the holiday season. I call this the back spasm season. The reason why is because I've been doing this for 20 years. And what I noticed is that people that in this time of year, the Thanksgiving, December time of year, that my normal, like, let's say I have a whole caseload of low back pain patients doing SI rehab, right? And maybe one or two will have a spasm, but when you talk to them, it's like, well, I got on my bike even though I told them not to, or I cleaned my house, which is an erratic motion, or I went to Disney World and walked for 8 hours, or got in a long car ride, or I got on a plane flight. And it's like, yeah, those things cause back spasms. Or one of the most common things is stress, right? So, so at any given time, I may have one or two in a given caseload of in a snapshot of the year, right? This season, it goes up to like almost half, unfortunately. And so I put out a post 2 weeks ago in the school group, join it below, my VIP school group. I put out a post and I said, get ready, it's back spasm season. And I get back from Thanksgiving, and on Monday, 3 out of the 4 patients I saw in the morning had back spasms. Okay, now, what is a back spasm? So years ago, I started, let's say, I don't know, when my kids were infants. So, um, I don't know, we'll say like 10, maybe 10, 11 years ago. I was changing my kit, making sure they don't fall off the change kit. I wasn't actually doing anything. I was just standing there. And the next thing you know, my back just went like this, right? And I literally couldn't stand up. And I hobbled to make sure my kid was safe. I hobbled to my bed and I laid there for 3 days. I couldn't go to work. Okay. And I'm laying there and I had 3 days to think about, like, what on earth just happened to me? Like I was just standing there. I wasn't actually doing anything. I'm a physical therapist, right? And at the end of those 3 days, I came to the conclusion that because had been so stressed at the time, that it's like when you get stressed, your neck spasms type thing, right? People have these neck spasms nowadays, but it can like really spasm, right? And when you get that stressed, I believe that your back has a spasm threshold too, right? And like, I have this dog. I had this dog. She was my buddy. She went to work. People met her. She went to work for 10 years with me. So we were together every day, every night, had a pretty deep bond. And the night before I had to put her down, my back started aching. But being a physical therapist and treating back pain all day long, I could feel that out flares were starting to jam. And I started to get this achiness across my back. So I'm like, oh God, no. I'm like, I hope I don't hit that threshold, right? Because if I hit that threshold, then my back goes into a full blown spasm and I got to put this dog down tomorrow morning. You know what I'm saying? Like my best buddy. So it was a stress induced back spasm. Okay. Now, of let's say the 3 patients that had a back spasm Monday, that came back from vacation. One had started a new job, stress. He was doing great. Started a new job, boom, back spasm. They take 1 to 3 weeks to calm down, and you got to let it calm down. It's your nervous system getting upregulated, and you got to let it calm down. Um, the next one was putting together something in her backyard, for her kids, lifting heavy things, and that'll do it. And then also I had, what else did I have? And then one of my patients, um, got a friend had a terminal diagnosis that week and also hosted the holiday. So when that happens, stress, right? Stress. And then also vacuum sweeping, mopping, which is an erratic motion, especially during SI rehab. And then the combination of it threw this patient's back into spasm. And now, years ago, I used to get blamed all the time. I used to get blamed. Like, this is your fault, this isn't going to work, that kind of stuff, right? It generally doesn't happen anymore. Okay. And the reason why is because I create a video in the beginning of the rehabs and I send it to every patient and I go over, I talk about this in my VIP group. Um, I send it to every patient and it goes over all the things that can happen during low back pain rehab, SI joint, sacral torsion shears, what I treat all day long. And it goes over all the things that can happen during SI rehab, and one of which is a back spasm. And I put it in the video. Now, why don't I just tell them, right? I did. And then when it would happen, and I would say, "Remember, I told you this?" They would say, "No, I don't remember," right? And I was like, "That's crazy! I literally told you that." And so what I started to do was I put it in a video and I would send it to them. And right after their first visit, so, because I know that this is a possibility. And when it happens, people are getting better. And then boom, they're in a full blown spasm. And then this isn't going to work. I quit. And when people quit with SI rehab, unfortunately, from what I see in my clinic, it is a disaster because it doesn't show up on x-rays and MRIs. And then it's just like, put it this way, most of my patients have spent $20,000 to $120,000 trying to figure out what's wrong with their backs and had all kinds of crazy stuff done to them and seen everybody type situations. And they come in and usually I can get them out of pain in 30 seconds by opening up their SI joints and rotating their sacrum back. I publish statistically historic papers in the field of orthopedics and medicine in general that you can read on my website, weltonmethods.com, or join my school group below, okay, my VIP group. So when this happens, okay, what I do is I actually point to that video and I say, yeah, this conversation we're having right now, like I knew that this was a possibility. So I created this video to warn you. So when it happened, basically I'm saying like I knew this was going to happen. I knew how upset you were going to be. I've been doing this 20 years. And the I knew you'd start to question whether you're going to get better, but I did this video. Remember that video I did? Well, I did it to warn you that this could happen because I knew this happens and I knew people get really upset about it. So just let it calm down and we'll move on after. I'm not clinically worried about it. If they don't have bowel or bladder issues, no trauma involved, bowel bladder issues, saddle anesthesia, myotone weakness, then it's a spasm, right? And I mean, it's not, it's not rocket science what happened to the person. There's no trauma involved. There's no serious, paralysis going on. They don't get Caudy-Quine syndrome, right? So in that sense, that has saved me so many people of quitting because people used to quit all the time because they go into back spasm from emotional stress in their life and then they would blame me, right? It's like, no, it's your fault, man. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I mean, or I have another patient right now who unfortunately had a death in the family. And then they were getting on an airplane and I was like, oh no, man, this isn't a good recipe, because airplanes are one of them and stress is one of them, right? Anyways, the patient gets back from it and I'm like, really? You didn't go into, like, in my head, I'm like, really? You didn't go into a full-blown spasm? Well, when the patient got back from the services, boom, it hit, and I was like, yeah, I was actually shocked this didn't happen before, you know, and I did this video for you, just to let you know that this is a possibility. Okay, so Back spasms will make or break people. Okay, they make or break people rehab. Now, if you don't do this, if you see what I see, if you, I tell people, if you ever saw what I saw in the clinic every day, which is just this horror show of I've tried physical therapy, chiropractic, injection, surgery, orthopedic surgeon, neurosurgeon, X-ray, MRI, massage, acupuncture, repeat, 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 right? And when they come in, I start thinking things that don't show up on X-rays and MRIs, like SI joint sacral torsion shear. So I use my diagnostic method that I publish and I teach in my VIP inner circle, and I open up their realign their SI joints, and I generally am not worried about these patients getting better. Okay, but if you don't handle these back spasms appropriately, if you don't handle them appropriately, then these people quit and then they go back into that. Okay, so I'm trying to save people from themselves. Okay, this year I used to have people quit on me all the time. This year I probably had three people. Yeah, I would say just three. And I do like basically over 140 SI rehabs a year. And multiple back spasms this year, like, it happens, and I basically had three people that were like, they were actually the strange thing there is they were actually getting better. And they were actually getting better and they noticed a difference. But whether it be the spouse in their ear saying you should have been better in 2 weeks, like, no, man, you shouldn't have been better in 2 weeks. Like, that's a miracle, like this takes time to strengthen muscles. Like, go to gym, you're not better in 2 weeks. But I put that in the video that it takes 2 to 6 weeks to even start noticing a difference in this rehab, good days, bad days. And then they generally don't blame me when they're not totally better in 2 weeks. But some people just have expectations that are, no matter what you tell them, their expectations are like, no, I'm going to be better in 2 weeks, period, paragraph, else this isn't going to work, that kind of thing. So I generally don't have patients like that anymore because I learned to manage expectations. I find, and I teach business too. You join my VIP group, I'm talking all about it. Not just clinical stuff, business, a cash-based business model. I've learned to manage people's expectations. Okay. And if you manage expectations, then and tell them worst case scenarios that can happen during these rehabs, like if you're doing a rhomboid rehab and you're strengthening the rhomboid, like, yeah, it's going to hurt for 3 weeks, like, because you're strengthening a muscle that's weak and is angry. You know what I'm saying? So I learned to manage these people's expectations. Okay. And when you learn to manage it on video, and then I send it to them because they forget. So I send it to them, and then they stop blaming me for something that they did. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I had one guy who was so mad at me, and I was like, I told you not to golf, but the person went golfing. And the next thing you know, my clinic is getting blown up with these text messages like, what the heck happened? Blah, 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 blah. Person went golfing. And I was like, no, man, but they get mad at you, and it's like, this is your fault. And I'm like, no, it's not my fault. I told you on video that, this, if you do X, Y, Z, you're going to throw this thing out. Okay. And you're going to spasm, you're going to lock up, and we need to let it calm down for 1 to 3 weeks. Okay. And I find that I call it my off the ledge speech, but I find that you can talk them off the ledge of like, this isn't going to work. I'm out of here, that kind of thing, right? And then they go back into the medical system, and like I said, most of my patients have spent $120,000 trying to figure out what's wrong with their backs. When they come in 30 seconds, I get them out of SI joint pain and sacral torsion shear pain, which doesn't really show up on X-rays and MRIs. Okay, so I'm trying to save people from themselves. Okay, and I've learned that this is the most difficult thing I do, not the clinical part. The most difficult thing I do is the psychological part, is to get people out of their own way so that they can get better. Okay. And this is a major thing that I teach. in my business group, I teach in my cash-based clinic accelerator, highly successful cash-based clinic where my clinicians I teach to charge $400 for 30 minutes. And it's a seven-figure model based on one clinician. So you get paid for results, not because you have a degree. And people just use my protocols. People use my protocols, and they just apply them, and then they're like me. Tell me they generally don't feel stressed about treating you know these conditions. So, anyways, yeah. By the way, if you're new to follow me, I'm a physical therapist from Tampa, and I publish statistically historic papers in the field of not just orthopedics, medicine itself. 3 to 5 years post publication, get multiple times what even the biggest journals in the world get. And you can read those on my website, weltonmethods.com. I also have a school group here, SKOOL, and click on that link below. And you can join that group. It's my VIP group where I'm teaching a lot more. So I have my clinical mentorship, and then I have my hybrid clinical business mentorship, because in order to succeed in this business model, you have to have the clinical skills. So anyways, that's that. But all right, I'm off to off somewhere. Anyways, but that's how to get patients to stop blaming you for things that they did, and is to actually put it on video and send it to them, or give them instructions and say, or send it to their phone. Make sure that's something that they can't misplace, because if you don't warn them about the things, the hiccups that can happen along the way, it's your fault. I quit. I'm out. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. Trust me, I've been in business 20 years. This season right here is actually the most difficult season for me, not clinically, difficult season for me in terms of managing psychology in my patients and getting them to not quit because they had a back spasm that was caused by something that they did, that I can't control. You know what I'm saying? So I can't control, the stress in people's lives. I can't control it, so it's not but they don't understand that. So then you get blamed. So anyways, I've learned that over the years. If you implement that strategy, I believe you, like me, you'll cut down all these people, you know, shooting themselves in the foot, quitting when you knew what you were doing, and then going and back into the crazy medical system type thing. All right. Other than that, I am out. Peace. Love you all.